As you remarked earlier, a considerable amount of legislation around food safety, food health. What do you think the three big trends coming up will be internationally in terms of moving on, changing what is legal?
Well, I think one of the main factors for the future, let's tackle number one, is I think companies which are thinking ahead about their market are actually saying to themselves, actually, these problems are rising. We are only partly to do with the problem. The problem is composed of many parts. It's not just the sugar and salt and saturated fats. It's not just that. It's the physical activity people undertake. It's not just that. It's how much fruit and vegetables we consume, and so it goes. It's complex.
And there's some degree of personal responsibility as well.
And there is always a degree in everything we do, an element of personal responsibility. But the personal responsibility is not the explanation to anything. Here we are, we think ourselves as clever individuals, but actually we operate in groups. Our habits are formed by the groups we're members of. We're not Robinson Crusoes living on a desert island. We're surrounded by the environment, family relationships, aspirations of other people around us.
And what people eat.
And what people eat, what people see. Yeah. We signal to each other about what is appropriate and normal.
So coming back to the legislative thing.
Coming back to what companies are thinking about into the future. If you're a company like, let's say, Pepsi. Pepsi is a very large multinational company, vast expenditures on marketing of its products. Now, this company is thinking ahead and decided some years ago that if you do not see, the world does not see an improvement in child health, or adult health for that matter, you're having an obesity crisis, then that company, they say to each other, we can be fingered for the problem.
They will become like the cigarette manufacturers.
They will become like the cigarette manufacturers. Companies like Pepsi are very well aware of that. And so they are reconsidering the products, the composition of the products, the fat contents, the salt content, the sugar content, how they farm, since part of this is about a supply chain phenomenon, and you want to move into sustainable diets as well. So they've tried to reinvent their supply chain, production processes, and so on, moving from crisps or chips, if we're dealing with an international audience, which are fried, to those which are baked, of reducing salt and so on. That's merely an intelligent company looking after itself and its own long-term interest. This is not ultimately about legislation. It is done in terms of fear of legislation. Okay, and the examples that you would give are places like New York City, where you have an activist mayor who has basically taken sugary drinks out of schools and is now considering other forms of tax.